Thanks everybody for joining me for Innovations and Conversations with Stephen Anderson. I am, of course, Stephen Anderson, and I'm really super excited about our guest today. But I want to give a special thanks to Promethean and ClassFlow for hosting us. So you can check out all the Innovations and Conversations recordings. We've had some really great guests: Aaron Klein, Amanda Dykes, Tom Whitby. You can check out all those on the My ClassFlow YouTube channel. So I'm really excited because, of all the guests that I've had, they've all been pretty awesome. But I think I'm saving the best for number four, whatever that means.
Yeah,
So
whatever that
so
means.
so I've got my super awesome friend Kyle Pace today. Kyle is a all around great superhuman person. Human, right? Yeah.
As far as I know.
As far as you know, right? At least that's what your kids say. And Kyle's in Kansas City, Missouri. I won't tell you his address because you'll want to go there and get some of his mom's cookies, which he can explain later on. But Kyle, thank you for coming and hanging out with me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm honored to join. So you're a great friend, and we've known each other a long time. So it's this will be fun.
So I wish that we could hang out. I wish I was with Kyle and I were talking earlier, and I told him I was getting ready to move. Wish I was moving to Kansas City so we could hang out more because we really only get to see each other doing things like this or conferences, which is awesome. I
Yeah,
just wish it was more of it.
exactly.
So let's jump right in. So tell everybody what makes you awesome. Tell us why. Or tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So this is my 15th year in education this year. So I was an elementary classroom teacher. That's where my initial education experience was. And then I got my master's degree in ed tech, which seems like forever ago, which probably it's so out of date now. I don't even know if anything I even learned in that program is applicable still, because it's technology and it's changed a bajillion times since then. But then for the last 11 years, I have been an instructional technology specialist. For the district I work for here just outside Kansas City, suburb of Kansas City. So that's me. That's what I've done, and I love every bit of it. And I organize Ed Camp KC. I've got an awesome team of folks that help me make that a really successful thing. So and I get the fortune of getting to do some traveling and meeting teachers from all over the place from time to time too.
And you were an author before being an author was cool, which I thought that was one of the first things that I found out about you, was that you wrote a book like a while before. Like a lot of us right now have books coming out. I have a book coming out, which we'll
Yeah.
plug later. But you wrote books before writing books was cool.
I guess, I never really thought about it that way, but since you put that label on it, I may have to add that to my email signature now. So, yeah, so I have done a lot. Being a music student in high school was a big part of my identity when I was in 9th through 12th grade, being in band and choir, and so music has always been something that's been really special to me, and so I co-authored a book in 2009, a whopping 5 years ago. It wasn't really that long ago, about integrating technology in the music classroom. So I co-wrote that with one of the elementary music teachers in my district. Asked me to write that with him, and we need to update it because it's probably in serious need of updating. So it needs a second edition.
That's awesome. So you were just talking about your background in music. What led you to education? Why teaching? Why technology?
Yeah, so two very influential people in my life are what led me to become a teacher. The first one of those, first and foremost, my mom. She is a retired middle school teacher. She taught for 31 years, and so she's, and so education was just something I was always around. I always got to witness her being such an amazing teacher, and she was so good at establishing relationships with her students, and she just did the coolest things with her kids all the time. And so yeah, that was a huge influence, probably my number one influence. And then my number two influence was my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Hodson. She's just an amazing human being, and actually I got to do my student teaching with her. So I got to go back and do my student teaching with my 5th grade teacher, which was an amazing experience and a lot of fun. And that's someone who I still keep in touch with to this day from time to time. And so yeah, she's also another example of what a teacher should be. And so those two people were the main reason I got an education. And then the whole technology piece, it kind of ties in with that a little bit, because I went to the same middle school where my mom taught at. So, but I never got in trouble. Never. I just want to preface that. I never got in trouble. Okay. But it was a big deal. I remember when teachers in my middle school first got a computer in their classroom, and it was a Mac. It was a Mac computer. I wish I could remember the exact model of it, but it was an old school Mac, okay? It was like a Power Mac 550 or something. It had some name like that. So that was a big deal when teachers got those computers in their classrooms. And so, but the cool thing about that was that computer got to come home in the summertime. So the teachers got to bring that home. So you know whose computer that became in the summertime. So it became mine. And I completely self-taught how to do pretty much anything and everything on that computer. And then what that led to was that kind of led to me informally becoming the student tech support for all of the other teachers in the school. So when teachers, like other teachers that my mom taught with, they'd be having me come down to their classrooms like before and after school. Or I remember Mrs. Lathrop, my 6th grade social studies teacher, she had me come over to her house on a Saturday just to teach her stuff about her computer. And so it was, so teaching teachers about technology started for me a long time ago. And then when I got my master's, that just got me more into it, and I love doing it. I just love teaching teachers about technology, and I love just helping be part of a really important support system that teachers need to have.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of us who are in that same technology position kind of had that same kind of experience where you kind of just became the person that other people went to for certain things. That's my story, and it's certainly a lot of other people, and it kind of has led us down that path. Now your path has kind of even taken another direction, because whenever anybody asks me anything about Google Hangouts or Google Plus, I was like, oh, you need to talk to my buddy Kyle. You need to talk to my buddy Kyle. Was working with Classroom Champions, which is a really cool organization, which I encourage people to check out. And they were looking at moving some of their private community stuff into Google Plus, and I didn't know anything about it. Oh, you need to talk to Kyle. Kyle's the guy to go to. You seem like you are the go-to guy for Google, and so that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about. How did you get into Google, and how would you, there's a lot of people that maybe want to take that same path with Teacher Academy or things like that. How did you do that? Yeah,
so I am there's no denying my high level of Google fanboy that I am. So I remember a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I heard about this thing called the Google Teacher Academy. And I heard it was just this amazing 2 days of professional development where you got to go learn everything there is to learn about Google Apps for Education and the impact that it can have on teaching and learning. So I kind of just sat back for a while and watched people's tweets about it that were going to it and whatnot. And then in 2011, they had another round of applications open to go to the Google Teacher Academy and be a Google certified teacher. So I applied, and if you're curious, the application process to be an online application via a Google form, that's pretty cut and dry. You're talking about your philosophies of education and things like that, and kind of laying out some of your qualifications, and then but the hardest part, or at least the hardest part for me, was you have to make a video. And that video can only be 1 minute long. And it has to be you have to put it on YouTube. So that was the hardest part for me. I got really hung up on that, and then I just finally had to kind of put myself in check and tell myself to quit overthinking it. And so I made this 1 minute video and I submitted it all and I got picked. And so they pick about 50 or 60 people every time. So I went to the Google Teacher Academy that was in Seattle in 2011, and it was amazing. It was a great time. I mean, you get to go to one of the Google offices. I mean, and so that's an environment that just breathes creativity and collaboration and just generally being laid back. Just a very laid back atmosphere, as you can imagine, I'm sure. And so it was a great couple of days. I learned a ton, but more importantly, it connected me with some really amazing, genius people, and I've stayed connected with those folks, and and so I've kind of just kept going with my learning and all that, because Google Apps for Education, one of the things I love about it is Google's committed to constantly making it better and adding new features, and we just saw Google Classroom come out, a month and a half ago, and and things like that. They're just doing really good stuff for education. And
so
yeah,
talking about that. So
yeah.
you self-describe Google fanboy. I mean, and I, I'm totally, if Google disappeared today, I'd be dead in the water.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
But so what makes it so great for educators? I mean, what is the draw for educators? We see more and more districts going Google Apps for Ed. We see more and more teachers utilizing a lot of those great Google features. I mean, what is it that, you mentioned the how they're continuing to innovate, but what is it really that in the classroom for teachers? What makes Google a great choice for them?
It just works. I mean, it sounds so simple to say. It just works, and it's all internet based. I mean, we're living in the cloud with so many things now, and and that's where so many businesses and corporations and universities, they're going to these cloud-based platforms like Google Apps, for example. And I think probably to this day, my favorite feature of everything related to Google is the collaborative aspect of it. You can collaborate on anything. You can collaborate. Kids can build a document. Kids can build a presentation. Families can have a shared calendar. You have, buildings can have shared resource calendar. You have Google Forms. Google Sites for teachers to have classroom websites, and it just all blends together so well, and it just it just works. I say that, and I say that a lot about Chromebooks too. They just work. It sounds kind of silly to say that, but it's true. They're so reliable, and it's all so intuitive, and like I said, they're always making it better. So
well, look at Hangouts. I mean, what people were having to rely on Skype, and there was a big pushback in schools for Skype because it allegedly took up too much bandwidth, which we know isn't true. But you could only do peer-to-peer with Google Hangouts. I mean, you can have 10 people, or now you can do on air, and now anybody can watch from air. I mean, it's true. You mentioned Google Classroom, so that's something that I'm hearing a lot about. I full disclosure, have not seen it, don't have a whole lot of experience with it, and there may be some folks out there who are just like, Google Classroom. Can you give us a quick rundown about, I see how people raving about it. Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, teachers seem to really, really be liking it. So that is Google's newest education product, Google Classroom. You can go, it's classroom.google.com is where you can find it. You do have to have a Google Apps for Education account, so you can't use it with a Gmail address or any other Google account. You do have to have a Google Apps for Education account, so it is very education specific. But at its core, what it allows teachers to do is completely streamline that whole workflow in their classroom of kids turning in assignments to the teacher digitally. And so there is an announcements feature and there's an assignment feature. It's pretty straightforward right now. I mean, like I said, it's only, and I've been telling all the teachers that I've been showing it to, you got to remember, this has only been out a month and a half. So Google is very well known for making things better. So I'm sure more things are going to be coming out for it as the school year goes on, but you can push announcements out to your class, so your class has its own little private space, and you can invite kids via email, or they can put in your class code to join your class, and you can push out announcements, and you can push out assignments. So announcements can be links, they can be things in Google Drive, it can be a YouTube video, or any other file you have on your computer. And then the same way it goes with assignments. You create an assignment, you put a due date on it, and then you push out something that the kids need for that assignment, a video, a link, something you've already got in your Google Drive. And the best thing about it is, say a teacher's got a Google Doc that he or she's already created with the instructions for the assignment on it, or the template for the assignment, or a writing prompt, whatever it may be. You can drop that in an assignment, and there's an option to click on make every student their own copy. So you can make push it out, make every student their own copy right from there, and it's all driven through Classroom. Kids can then go into Classroom, they can click on the assignment, it makes that copy for them already, so they can click on it right there, and it's their copy, open it up, work on it, and then they've got a button to click that says turn in, and they turn it into the teacher. And so it just, and kids can even create new stuff right from within Classroom, even if it's not a document or something the teacher's pushed out. You know, a kid can create a new presentation or a document or whatever right there from it within Classroom to turn into his or her teacher. And so I've kind of been showing it to teachers as, you know, kids almost, you know, anything they're doing in Google Classroom through your class, they really don't even have to go into Google Drive, because Google Drive's managing it all on the back end. So it's really slick. It's mobile friendly. The teachers that, you know, in my district that have started using it, I just got a message from a teacher a couple weeks ago, and she said Google Classroom has changed my life. You know, I mean, they're really liking it. So
I would have been I would be so much of a better teacher with all these, with all the ways to engage kids at this. And again, I think, and you touched on that it's a new way to engage with kids, but it streamlines the process so that really the technology gets out of the way, so you can focus in on the learning and how kids are learning.
That's exactly what I say about Google stuff too. Is it does a great job of getting out of the way, so you can focus on learning. And the Google for Education team, you know, they've said the same. I've heard them say the same thing. So they know it's all about the learning and not about the tool.
So switching gears, this is Connected Educator Month. So October is the month that's dedicated to connected educators. You yourself are a hugely, wildly popular connected educator. Why, you know, one of the things that our buddy Tom Whitby says is that connected educators are the worst people to try and connect other people, because we get it, which is, there's some truth to that. But if you had to tell somebody your elevator speech for being connected, what has it done for you, and what impact has being connected had on you personally and professionally?
Yeah, and I just published a blog post about Connected Educator Month yesterday, and I called the blog post "Making It Stick," because I talked about in my post, you know, this is definitely something that shouldn't just be going on 1 month a year. You know, I mean, it's officially Connected Educator Month, but we should be connected educators. You know, we should be connected educators all the time, and it's all about being a learner first. And I am first and foremost a learner. You know, I am never ashamed to say I don't know. when somebody, and that still surprises people sometimes. You know, I'll have people say to me, Kyle, have you heard about such and such website? Or have you heard about such and such app? No, I haven't heard about that one. What? I'm telling you something you haven't heard about? You know, and I gave up, and I tell them I gave up a long time ago trying to keep up with absolutely everything related to ed tech, because you'll never do it. It always changes. And so, but that's what being a connected educator is about. You're committed to being a learner first and a teacher second. And, you know, and the beauty of that is that can look different for all of us. How you're a connected educator can be completely different from how I'm a connected educator. You know, for me, just like I said in my blog post, for me it's Twitter. That's been my go-to for 6 years now. And, you know, but for some people it may be blogging. For some people it may be writing blog posts or reading blogs, or those Google Plus. There's tons of Google Plus communities you can join that are education related. Those Google Educator groups are Google Plus communities. They're starting to pop up all over the world that you can join. The point is you're doing something. I think it's not so much how you're doing it, it's just the point that you're doing something to stay relevant and to make yourself better for your students. That's the number one thing for me. I think too often, people get hung up on, well, I'm not going at it as fast as so and so down the hall, or there's just so many things, and so I'm going to try to do 6 different things at once. Don't do that. Don't do that. I've said this so many times. It's not how fast you're moving forward. It's not how much you're moving forward. The point is just that you're moving forward. And that's what being a connected educator to me is all about. You're committed to moving forward. The speed of forward movement I don't think matters. You just want to keep regularly moving forward, or just keep swimming. Whatever catchphrase you want to put on it.
Well, I think what you said about being a learner first is kind of the key about being a connected educator, is that those people who follow your path or follow the path of the connected educator realize that it is about learning. It is about being a better educator for kids, and so it's I think you nailed it right there with being a learner first. So I've been wrapping up these conversations with advice. So I've been asking everybody, what is the best piece of advice that they can give to a new educator?
Best piece of advice you can give to a new educator. Oh my gosh. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just don't be afraid to ask questions. Build relationships. Asking questions and building relationships, I think, are 2 of the biggest things that a new educator could do, because new teachers are just inundated with so much stuff, and I've told teachers in my district, if I went back to the classroom, it would feel like being a new teacher all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Just because education has changed so much since I've been in the classroom, and there's so many new things all the time, and holy cow, you're going to have to build some serious relationships, of some mentor type relationships, and hopefully those are, hopefully you don't have to seek those out completely on your own. Hopefully there's some supports in place, by the leadership in your school or your district that kind of sets you up for some of that already. So that's going to hopefully occur naturally. But yeah, just relationships and questioning, and don't be afraid to say I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I think a lot of us were like that when we were just starting out. You don't want to be that one who didn't know,
Yeah.
and so you were afraid, and so you wind up getting further behind. And so if you had just asked, you would be way further ahead. So listen, I always hate doing these well, I don't hate doing these short conversations. I love doing these short conversations. I hate that they don't last longer.
I know, right?
But they, I could talk to you about 20 more things.
Sure.
But this is great. So thank you for coming to hang out with me, and listen, if you want to check out Kyle, you can check him out on Twitter. He's at Kyle Pace, and you can check out his blog. Conveniently enough, it's kylepace.com, where you can read that post about Connected Educator Month, which is really, really solid. So, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, completely my pleasure.
And thanks to everybody for watching. We'll be back with our next Innovations and Conversations on October the 14th, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, where we will talk to the Master Curator, Jerry Blumengarden. You might know him as Cyberyman1, so we hope to see you then. In the meantime, do check out all the episodes of Innovations and Conversations on the My ClassFlow channel on YouTube, and be sure to sign up for your free ClassFlow account. It's a really awesome tool for teaching and learning in the classroom. Thanks, everybody.